Take two. Action. Apologize for that. I thought we were live a second ago. We weren't. Right, we are back again, and this time it's for the reaction show. Reaction to Marseille versus Newcastle in the Champions League. If you missed our earlier show, which was a bit more positive than this one, go check that out at your leisure. Top Table Talk with the usual crew on board there. So go check that out. But I'm not even going to ask how everyone is because we spoke earlier, so there's no point. So let's get straight into it, really. Let's get into a new game plan for Newcastle in this one. This was the starting lineup. Eddie went 5 at the back, or 3 centre backs, with Tino and Murphy as our wing backs for this one. Like Thiaw, Schär, and Byrne as their centre backs. Popey in goal. More about that later. Willock gets a start, and Gordon starts up top. Big Nick is on the bench. Thoughts, Chris, on the lineup for Newcastle?
Yeah, I mean, the 5 at the back probably wasn't surprising, and I knew Eddie Howe would ring the changes. I have to admit, I was surprised Joe Willock got a start, but maybe Joe Willock has been performing behind the scenes in training and stuff like that, and that's why he's been given the nod. I thought this game was tailor-made for Jacob Ramsey, so I was surprised to not see Jacob Ramsey start. I expected Lewis Hall to be rested. Obviously, we saw him a bit later on in the game, didn't we? But that didn't necessarily surprise me. So obviously utilising Murphy and Tino as the wing backs, again, not that surprising. And of course, seeing Anthony Gordon through the middle. When I saw the 3 attacking options, I was thinking, right, okay, we don't have a striker, so then I automatically assumed, right, we're going to be going with Anthony Gordon through the middle, which we've spoken about on here for a long time, that maybe that's not the best idea. However, as we keep talking about, it is a squad game. It is about utilising players and making sure that we don't run players into the ground. So I understood it, and I'll be honest, I can't say I saw the lineup and thought we're going to get beat tonight or anything like that. I was just taken aback a little bit by the choice or the formation, and also the personnel that Eddie had picked. But what about you, Daz? What did you think of the lineup? Oh, and by the way, I did think that maybe Adam Ramsdale are gonna go tonight, but we will come to that, I'm sure. But what did you think?
Yeah. Well, I think I didn't mind the 5 at the back because it's what I was champion for the City game, really. And he is going to try to do something different, and it seemed to work in that first half, even though we'll get into the details. But we've said it numerous times before. I don't like Gordon up front. Gordon is a winger. He's a very good winger when he's on form, but up front, for me, he does nothing. I'd even rather see the likes of Sean Neve, I know maybe not in the Champions League game, just giving a run out, or someone else. Obviously, we saw when he's back up, but we did kind of have to rest Nick Valdermeda, because we can't go complaining then if he's not at his best going into the Everton game. So we have to try something. I'll go through the first half. Do we have you, Pete? Oh, okay. Let's go through the first half. So, good start from Newcastle. 3 minutes off the line from Malick Thiaw header. Gordon Larkin trying to put the ball to the back of the net. I know, Chris, you would have seen an awful lot of this. You were for yourself at that time, but okay. 5 minutes after 5 minutes, Barnes had the ball in the net. Tonali, Gordon got a touch after the Tonali cross in. It came to Barnes, who did really well in the box. He applied the finish, went to a VAR check, and I was looking at a potential offside, but the goal stood 1-0. Here's just screenshots of the shot, but it was a good ball in by Tonali. I think it was Willock that played it on to Tonali first, and then Barnes. He was just a danger man in the box. He was the quickest to react in the box. His celebration from one of the celebration pictures from that. Did you get to see that goal back, Chris?
No, I genuinely haven't seen it. But I suppose from your point of view, Daz, was it a well-worked goal? Were we on top at that point? I know it's only 6 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Albeit, but...
No, definitely we're like, because I think we got a corner after a minute, because we're talking the first 5 minutes here. We were all over them, and then at that you're thinking, yes, let's go. And I even go into more detail in the game. You'll see it. But Marseille then tried to up the pressure. They're at home. It kind of came a bit as a bit of a shock to them, and the kind of commentary kind of allude to as well that they weren't expecting the 5 at the back from Newcastle. But yeah, then 18 minutes of save from Pope from Aubameyang, 22 minutes Tonali team shot after he tried to cross it in the first, so there was a second attempt there. Newcastle's intensity in the press was back in that first half. It was evident at times anyway. Marseille under pressure and forced to rush their passes. Willock was making some decent runs. Actually, Willock had a good game for once. He did pick up an early yellow card for kind of an elbow, but he was doing well. It was kind of end to end, and when the break was on, so it was like a counter-attacking football from both sides. But still we're 1-0 up at this stage. Then penalty claim, but it was a dive by the young lad Barcola from Marseille. No one touched him. Schär was nowhere near him. He got a yellow card for simulation. 36 minutes in, Aubameyang he had a free header, but he headed it wide. So yeah, the shooting boots at that time weren't on for him. 39 minutes, Olympique Marseille in after Tonali loses the ball. But who came to the rescue? You can guess who came to the rescue. Player of the season, German lad.
Oh, Malick Thiaw.
That's the one. There's a quiz, Chris. There's always a quiz. So he came to the rescue there. Yeah, he got in and he cleared the danger. As he stops Aubameyang's advances. 42 minutes. Gordon shot is saved. Was on target, but it was saved by the keeper. 48 minutes. Gordon with a chance again. Willock with a very good run down the right hand side. And Gordon had a chance, but he didn't get to it. Blew up for halftime, 1-0. So we in the half 1-0, and everything is looking good. Even though we did sit back a bit when we scored, but we're still playing 5 in the back and 3 centre backs. It's kind of to be half expected a bit, but we're in a good position. You're thinking we can kick on from there now into the second half. Hey, Pete, welcome as well. I'm going to go to you, Pete, because you will have seen the first half, which Chris didn't see. But your thoughts on that first half, Pete?
Yeah, I thought it was a very good first half. Really, really impressed with the team. Really impressed with the attitude to the game. I thought we started well, started fast. I actually think we really surprised Marseille. I think we shocked them. I think we didn't. They'd tactically set up their team to play Newcastle United in a certain way. We came out very different, and they were shell-shocked. I think that performance in the first half was a huge testament to Eddie Howe and Newcastle United, how we set the team up. The first goal, or the goal to put us 1-0 up, I thought was brilliant. High press, high intensity. Tonali wins the ball back, ball into the box. Gordon gets something on it. Whether you could say get something on it or not is up for debate. But Harvey Barnes, man in form, brilliant finish, superb finish. And it's a dream start for Newcastle United. It absolutely is a dream start. And they were shell-shocked and we were pressing. I've got to give a huge shout out to Joe Willock. I thought he was absolutely superb. For the first 60 minutes at least, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. easily our best midfielder. Tonali was okay. Bruno was well off it, and he was poor today. Really, really poor. I would have, had we known he was going to play like that, I'd have just rested him. I'd have just rested him and played Miley or Ramsey instead. So yeah, Willock I thought was really good. Drove forward, quite a number of counter attacks. The ball he played for Gordon was absolutely sensational, and Gordon really probably should have done better. He hesitated, and that was the moment. If he'd have not hesitated, he'd have probably been able to get onto the ball and hit it first time. I thought we were really good, really, really good. And yes, we rode our luck, but you're in the Champions League against Marseille at the Stade Vélodrome. You're going to ride your luck in games. And let's not forget, sometimes fans look down on Liga as a crap league. It's not. You could see their front three were absolutely sensational. Greenwood, Aubameyang, I can't remember the other lad's name on the left-hand side, but he was very, very good on that left-hand side.
Arcola? Weah.
No, he played centre midfield, but yeah, Weah, Timothy Weah on the left. Very, very good. And they caused us loads of problems after that. But we still caused them problems. We won the ball back high on numerous occasions, whether it was Willock, whether it was Sandro, pushing them high, pressing them high. I thought Harvey Barnes was very good. Very good. Looked really comfortable. He looks like a man in confidence. Getting the ball, driving forward, creating attacks, linking play, everything you want in a team. I couldn't argue. Couldn't argue was walking off at half time. I thought that's a bloody good half of football. Good half of football for Newcastle United in the Champions League. I had no issue with that.
Yeah, you hit all the key words that I just described there, Pete, as well. So yeah, we were aligned on our thoughts in that first half.
Pete,
sorry, Chris, go on.
Sorry, mate. No, I just wanted to get Pete's thoughts on the lineup, because Pete, Daz asked me about the lineup, and I was saying, obviously, I totally understood the five at the back. Like, were you surprised, Pete, that Willock got his start? And again, I can't comment too much on Willock's performance, obviously, but you're saying that he had a really good 60 odd minutes. I just wanted to know your thoughts on the lineup, and were you surprised by any other changes that were made to the lineup from the City game?
To be honest, I thought the lineup was stronger than I anticipated. I didn't think he'd play Bruno and Tonali in the same team. I didn't think he'd play Malick Thiaw. There were rumours he might not be playing. I thought he might have gone Botman and Shaw, to be honest. I'm not surprised in Gordon playing down the middle. I thought Alanga might have played. Yeah, I thought he'd have given a few others a rest and given a few others a run out, to be honest. So I was surprised by it, but I was surprised in a good way, because it was a more positive team. It was more of the first 11 that you would expect to see in that team.
Right, boys, let's get into the second half straight away. On 45 minutes, great ball through from the Marseille lad, but Popey comes out and does not get anywhere near the ball. Aubameyang bends it into an open goal. Great finish from him. But Malick Thiaw is going, what was Popey at? He was shouting at him as the ball, as Popey was running towards. Damage was done then. But a shocking mistake from Popey to make it 1-1. Thoughts on that goal from Marseille?
You'll have to jump in here, Pete, because I was explaining to Daz pre-show. At the very end of the match, I saw Aubameyang put it in from what looked quite a tight and difficult angle, but I didn't see what happened before that. And from what I heard, I was in the car on the way home, and I heard the commentator saying, "What on earth is Nick Pope doing?" But I haven't seen what Nick Pope did.
Yeah, it's an absolute disgrace. It's a disgrace what's happened there. I'm sorry, Nick Pope has single-handedly turned that game on its head in that moment. What was it, 30 seconds in to the second half. What had been a really good, gutsy display in that first half has been completely undone. There's people in the chat calling the manager saying that this player's bad, that player's bad, this, that, and the other. No, the game turned on its head on that moment. There was no need for him to come out. Right? You could maybe argue Shaw trying to play Aubameyang offside is the wrong move. It was, but Malick Thiaw had Aubameyang. He was keeping pace with him. They were toe to toe. Like, he would have got there and stopped him from shooting. He would have got nowhere near the goal or anywhere near a shooting position had Nick Pope just stayed in his goal. And actually, if you watch it back, Malick Thiaw's telling him to stay. He's telling him not to come.
Yeah.
He's telling him he doesn't need to be out, but he still does it anyway. It's the brain dead moment. It is absolutely brain dead. It's brain dead from Nick Pope. That is not on the manager. You cannot blame the manager for that decision in game. What you can blame the manager for moving forward is selecting him, because he cannot start against Everton. Nick Pope cannot start against Everton after that. There are too many clangers in recent games, right? And he's been loyal to him. And fair play, we can argue it. We would have wanted Ramsdale in before. He stuck with him, hoping that he was going to play through it. He can't start now after that, because that has effectively turned the game on its head. You look at the players, and you look at the players for the next 5 minutes after that. Those players are shell-shocked. Malick Thiaw, the first thing he does when that hits the net, he turns around to Nick Pope and he's like, "What?" As if to say, "What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?" Everyone else, Shaw's head's down, Gordon's head's down, Barnes' head's down, even the captain, like their heads are gone because they've worked so hard in that game, and they were in a great position, and it's just been opened up just like that. And you can tell after that, the next 5 minutes up until they score again, their heads are on Mars. Their heads are gone. Their heads are not in the game. He has single-handedly turned this game on its head by an absolute brain-dead decision to come out when he didn't need to. There was no need for it whatsoever. He did it on Saturday against Man City and didn't get punished for it. He could have got punished for that. If Haaland was anything about it, he'd have whipped that in and it would have been 1-1 just like that. Right? That's the issue. He's brain dead. He doesn't know what he's doing. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. And on this level, at the top level, against the top teams in the top competitions, you cannot get away with that. You will get punished. He needs to be out the team. And I said to you boys the other day, when we were saying that Ramsdale must start, he must start. If he doesn't start now, when is he ever going to start? Is what I said. I'm saying exactly the same thing now. Ramsdale has to start on Saturday, because if he doesn't start on Saturday and he keeps poking that team, Ramsdale might as well just pack up and go home. He might as well go back to Southampton and get minutes there, because he should be playing games and starting games for Newcastle United. It's literally, it's the game's gone at that point. Their heads are gone. The game's gone. I'm surprised they even got their heads right to go again later on in the second half, because it was an absolute disgrace.
100% agree with what you're saying there, Pete. And you're right as well on Ramsdale. Yeah, if he doesn't get in now, he's never getting in. But it shades, Chris, as well of the Liverpool game. Remember when he got out and he connected with the player that time and got sent off. But yeah. This time he didn't even make it that far. It was just such a bad call to make the break for it. It was ridiculous, really. And a rush of blood to the head, and it's in the couple of seconds after the kickoff, like. Right, we move on.
Pete makes a good point, because I did see the highlights of Pope getting away with it at City, because he absolutely did. That could have really cost us. And let's be honest, boys, this is something we've been discussing for years now, isn't it? And we're seeing these moments. And yes, Nick Pope is a fantastic shot stopper, but when you've got someone who's capable of dropping clangers like that and it turning games, that it's a big issue, isn't it? It's a really big issue. And since Adam Ramsdale's come in, I think he made 3 starts for Newcastle since he's joined. Like, I would argue he's looked pretty impressive for every game he started. So yeah, and there's a lot of people in the chat. I'm reading all the comments from people in the chat, and they're all saying, what has Adam Ramsdale got to do to start the game? Like, what has he got to do? So obviously, we can discuss that tomorrow on away days. But yeah.
All right. 2 minutes later, Barnes has the ball in the net. Willock with the ball across, but Barnes is offside on that occasion. 49 minutes, Marseille in again. Aubameyang meets the ball sent across the box. He gets a touch ahead of Schär, 2-1. And as Pete has mentioned earlier, I have wrote down here, Newcastle shell shocked. Thoughts on the second goal from Marseille?
Yeah, look, it's a decent goal. It's a superb finish, first and foremost, from Aubameyang. It's a superb finish. He has no right to score that type of goal in that position. Some people are blaming Shaw for that. I thought Shaw did well to get into position to stop that from going in. The only place Aubameyang can score is where he's put it. And even then, it's the tightest of angles. Shaw, if you watch it again, Shaw actually cuts across Shaw because he's with Malick Thiaw, and he comes across Thiaw into Shaw, and Shaw seamlessly takes him on as his man to mark. Thiaw must give him the cord because he tracks him, and normally that type of shot that comes in goes low and across goal, and he's there to block it. But he gets that touch first, and it's in there. And look, yeah, it's poor. I mean, you could argue that Tino should do better in that position, but I can't even be mad at Tino in that position. At this point, it is all on the goalkeeper. It is all on the goalkeeper. It's a great finish. But we were hit for six by then. We were all over the place up until that goal, that second goal. We were all that 5 minutes. We were all over the place mentally. Like, we weren't picking up men midfield wise. They were playing through us with ease. It completely threw us. It threw us because it threw the game plan out the window. We were meant to stay in tight, compact, and that stupid moment has lost us.
Yeah, the damage was done with the first goal. That's really the reason for that second goal. Right, 58 minutes, good save from a Joe Willock shot. Sorry, Chris.
Sorry, mate. No, I was just going to say I did see the second Marseille goal, and just to follow on, no, mate, no, it's all right. And just to follow on from what Pete said, yeah, it was one of those goals, wasn't it, where it had to go in exactly the right place, and that's where it did. And it was weird because when watching it, you almost kind of knew it was going to go in, because when the ball come in from the angle and the player just got in front of Fabian Schär, as you say, there's only one place he can hit it, and he hits it in that place. But the way you boys have summarised it, based on what had happened with the equaliser where Pope comes out, the players just didn't look. They didn't look in the zone, and it almost happened in slow motion. Because, as I say, when he's coming in and you see the player running in, the ball gets whipped in, and you think he's going to make a connection here. Aubameyang does that. If he does that another 10 times, he'll score one of them, because it will either end up side netting, or, as Pete said, he'll play it across the box, and then across the goal, and you think that Pope would get it. That's literally the perfect place that he put it in. But unfortunately, the players just did look shell shocked from when I seen it. But it was a good finish. It was a good finish. Yeah.
Right, Newcastle needs to do something different. 60 minutes, Eddie makes some changes. Miley, Hall, and Elanga come on. Tino, Schär, and Murphy come off. We switch to a 4-3-3. Roll on to 71 minutes because nothing happens in between that. And we make two more changes. Ramsey and Nick Voltemeda come on, and Willock and Gordon come off. 72 minutes, Aubameyang in, but Malick Thiaw gets the ball out at the second attempt. 77 minutes, Nick Voltemeda to Elanga for the shot. It's saved. 78 minutes, Byrne does not connect with his volley correctly, so nothing comes of that one. Marseille then apply the shithousery that we're so used to applying ourselves, delaying the rhythm of the game. 83 minutes, Ramsey with a great run, drive and run, actually, to win a free kick in a great position for Newcastle. Tonali makes the balls of the free kick, puts it well over. After I was so looking forward to seeing him take a free kick in a good position. And nothing came to nothing. 85 minutes, Barnes is a bending shot, goes wide the post. That's about it. That's 2-1. We lose. We lose in the Champions League. I'll have the table here. We can have a look at that. But thoughts on the overall game?
Yeah, really disappointing. Really disappointing. I think we deserved a point from that game. Had it not been for that mistake from Nick Pope, I genuinely believe this. I genuinely believe that mistake, we take a point tonight, and we're shaking hands with Marseille, and we're going away very happy with that. I genuinely believe that, because I think, look, there were players that were maybe below par that didn't play well. I'm not saying that everybody on the outside of the pitch was perfect, but for me, I thought we did enough to take a point. I honestly believe so. I thought we were the best team in the first half. I thought in the second half we created some chances when the players came on again. Nick Voltemada. I thought Barnes was really good in the second half, creating opportunities. I thought we were still in there with a chance. Willock has a shot saved. We had a couple of melees in the box. We could have got another goal, but we had too much to chase after that, and the players' heads had gone completely, and it changed on that moment. People don't understand how big that moment was. Marseille's heads were gone. Like, their heads weren't in the game. They weren't at it. They weren't full of confidence. That goal gave them the confidence to go on and get the second. And then after that, they just sat in. They started rolling around on the floor. They did all the shithousery that we're known for against us, and just saw out the game quite comfortably. But look, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really care about this game. My priority was Saturday against Everton. But the problem is that actually we played really well in the first half. It almost gave me hope that we could get something. So it's kind of reeled me in. And that's why I'm more annoyed than I would have been normally. Had we have not played as well as we did in the first half, I wouldn't have been as annoyed at the fact that we lost tonight. Because my priority is Saturday. My priority is making sure we get back-to-back wins. But I don't know what damage that does to the players. I really don't. Like, the way in which we've lost that game and the manner of it and the fact that it was a horrible mistake that allowed them to get back in the game. I just hope it hasn't damaged some of these players on the pitch. Because we need them on Saturday. We need a lot of these players that played tonight to turn up and have a big performance again. So, look, disappointing to lose the game. Changes need to be made in goal. But we need to get our heads up and we need to be at it again at the end of the game. On Saturday.
Just to touch on one of your points you said there, Pete. Do you think, and I agree with what you're saying in terms of, will it affect the players? And there's a possibility that it will. Do you think in order for it to hopefully not affect the players, the decision is to start Ramsdale on Saturday? Because if Pope starts, is that going to be in the back of their heads? And you can perfectly understand why that would be the case.
Well, it told me everything that, like, for probably about 15 minutes after that first goal, maybe even the second goal, players were refusing to pass Nick Pope the ball. In situations, they were turning back into the pitch to be able to keep hold of the ball and not giving him the simple pass. Players don't trust him at the moment. You can see it on the pitch. Players don't trust him at the moment. And honestly, the last kick of the game, when you've got a free kick just inside your own half, anyone but Pope take it, please. How did someone not saw that? If someone else just, even if it's just Tonali, I know his free kick was shy, but even if he just, just lofts it into an area that Dan Burn can go and head, not Nick Pope, because he just kicks it long, like it's a hit to the hope. He never kicks it with any authority or any direction. We know this. We've known this for like how many years now? Oh my God. Yeah, there's no trust in the goalkeeper right now. Ramsdale has to start. It's as simple as that. Yeah, Ramsdale has to start. And you know what? If Eddie Howe starts Pope again, then any criticism that comes his way is he deserves, because this change has to be made now. You cannot justify keeping Nick Pope in goal after that. You can't justify it. So yeah, if he gets criticism after this, if Nick Pope starts on Saturday, then he has to take that on the chin, because he's the one that keeps making this decision. You don't sign an England level goalkeeper to come and play second fiddle, and then when your first choice goalkeeper isn't playing well, you don't put him in. This was the whole point. It was the whole point of bringing Ramsdale in, was to be competitive, is to let Nick Pope know that he can't just play every week, regardless of whether he plays good or whether he plays bad. He needs to know that Ramsdale's on his tail, which is why after that performance against Tottenham, he probably should have played more minutes. Now he needs to play. And Pope needs a period of time out of the team to go, right, if I want to get back in this team and I want to get into the England squad and all the rest of it, I need to play well. I need to make sure that I'm on top form. You need to kick up the arse, because this hasn't been good enough recently. And the only reason we're not talking about anything more on Saturday is because the defenders were so good. He didn't have anything to save. He made one save from Haaland. That was it. They didn't create any chances, whereas Marseille created some chances. They made a couple of saves, but we made a couple of bloody howlers as well.
What are the odds, as I go to the table, what's the odds that Dan Burns at left back and Pope is in goal on Saturday? I really hope not, but you never know. This is the table. We sit in 8th spot, still in the automatic positions here. So I know this some teams still have to play their 5th game. But that's where we sit, ahead of some of the big guns, of course. I won't say I did look at this at half time and we're up at 4th spot. So that we'll drop down the table here a bit by tomorrow evening into the middle section here. It is what it is. We've other games to play. And Leverkusen up next. They got a win against Man City, did they?
Win against City, yeah. I've seen that. I've seen that on my phone earlier. Yeah, some odd results, and Chelsea beat Barcelona, didn't they?
They did, yeah. So that's where we are. There's not really much more to talk about the table yet. It's still early days in the table, of course. Any comments in the chat?
I mean, yeah, we've had a number. I've been starving away, so I'm gonna throw a couple of questions at you boys. Interesting ones from Geniesta Wijnaldum. So I'll start with Geniesta. Geniesta says, "How's favouritism will cost him his job? Byrne and Pope should be nowhere near the starting 11." He also says, so I'll tie it in as a two-pronged thing. Botman will not sign a new deal, by the way. We needed him today at left centre back, not Byrne. Were you boys surprised, going with 3 at the back or 5 at the back, however you refer to it as? Were you surprised not to see Botman in the starting 11? Daz, I'll go to you first, mate.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Dan Burn is in, because he obviously didn't play because he was banned in the Premier League against Man City. But so I can see why he would have selected him then, being totally fresh. But then again, Botman only came on as a sub in that game. And back to the point before that from Giniesta. What did he? Favorite. What was it for Jordi 2 for life? No, yeah. Giniesta. That favoritism towards Byrne, but he now has to, going forward, unless it's resting in some situations, play Hall at left back. Byrne, I don't have any problem with Byrne playing when he's playing centre back. Maybe not ahead of Botman, but I don't have any problem with him starting, rotating, or whatever the case. But Pope now as well. Pope started the season really well, so there was justification for keeping him in. But He's starting to make mistakes. We've been calling for it the last couple of weeks now. If he has to drop hope and make a stand here, and give Ramsdale his shot, because we need to make the decision as well whether we want to try and going to keep Ramsdale or look for someone else like Trafford or some other keeper. We're not going to make a decision on him by what you see in training. You have to see him in games, and so now is the time. There's no other time to make this change, and as well as that, going away from home where we can't win we need to do something different anyway. So why not this? It's worth the roll of the dice for me.
Pete, I suppose two-pronged question, as I mentioned. Will favouritism end up costing Eddie his job? Ultimately, I'm not saying after this result by any stretch, but I'm just saying in terms of long term. And I suppose I'm more thinking about Nick Pope rather than Dan Burn in this situation, I suppose. And also to kind of tag on to that, is there any concerns around Sven Botman? Like, obviously, he didn't start again today. We expected him to start. Like, what are your thoughts on that from Gene Yester?
It's possible with regards to Eddie Howe. I don't really know, to be honest, because I just don't see Eddie Howe losing his job anytime soon. I don't. I think Eddie Howe's job is not up for discussion, regardless of what any of us feel individually. I don't believe his job is up for discussion until at least the end of the season. That's just how I feel, regardless of whether people want him in, out, shake it all about. Like he is.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yeah, I just don't see it. What his favoritism will do, though, his favoritism will absolutely loses a top level centre back, because that is what Sven Botman is. Now, there needs to come a point where he becomes the priority over Dan Burn. There has to be a change of moment. I'm not talking like within the next few games or whatever, but over the course of this season, there has to be a change of guard. Dan Burn, and I'm not saying Dan Burn's bad or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but he's 34. You've got to look to your future. You can't keep relying on older players to bail us out and just keep dragging them through the mud time and time again. You've got a lad there in Sven Botman that's 25 that could be here for the next 5 or 6 years if we really want him to. We could tie him down to that at the very least. But if you're not going to play him, he is going to go elsewhere, because there are loads of other clubs, big clubs, very, very good clubs, by the way, that would take Botman and he'd be playing every week and he'd be their main man. We can't then just go, oh, because he's with us, he can just be part of the squad, and then you're playing a 34-year-old ahead of him. Of course, he's got to play well. And to be fair, I thought it was justified that he didn't play against Man City. I thought it was justified. He hadn't had a few bad games. And Shaw and Chow were, in my opinion, good against Man City and deserved to at least have that partnership again. But if you're not playing a back four, which we didn't tonight, we played a back three with two wing backs. For me, Dan Burn having got sent off and effectively cost us a game against Brentford should not be coming in ahead of Sven Botman, in my opinion. No. And I think that's fair in my opinion on that. Yes, he might not deserve to start in a two, but I think he should absolutely have been ahead of Dan Burn tonight. And I think people are right to think that he might not sign a new contract. I've been worried about Sven Botman signing a new contract for months now. I've been worried about it for months. And I thought once he got a run of games under his belt, I thought, actually, yeah, he is going to sign a new deal. But when you start doing this with Sven Botman, this is why I said on Saturday, I thought, and I said it on the reaction as well, I thought Eddie Howe was really bold in not playing Botman because they're in the middle of contract talks. And to bench a player that's in the middle of contract talks to stay at your club that you desperately want to stay, it's a bold move. I thought it worked because our performances were right. But doing this tonight is not good. Now, if he's doing this in mind to Saturday, and for example, he plays Sven Botman on Saturday, then you can understand why. But we don't know that yet. But if Sven Botman's back on the bench again on Saturday, having had that performance tonight, whereas he should have played in a back three on that left-hand side or even in the middle, there's got to be questions to be asked. And it won't even be me that'll be asking the questions, or you, Daz. It'll be Sven Botman and his agent asking, well, you want us to stay? You're telling us we're going to be the guy, or he's going to be the guy. Why are you still picking a 34-year-old ahead of him? This is my point. I'm not hammering Dan Burn. What I'm saying is there has to be a natural transition out of a 34-year-old defender. That is very limited, by the way. He's good, but he's a limited defender. You have to transition him out. You've got a 25-year-old there. There are a lot of good top teams in Europe that would want to sign. You've got to find a way of playing him, because Dan Burn could quite well fizzle out very quickly. He's playing all right now, but that 34 to 35 could be Kieran Trippier, for example. You look at Kieran Trippier, just within a year, the change in his ability and what he's given to Newcastle United. That could be Dan Burn in a year. But by then, in a year's time, Sven Botman could be playing for another team.
And he's off.
And we're there, and I'm sorry, right? You're not getting, and I say, I don't believe we're getting. We got another centre back for 30 million, and I think we're very lucky to sign him in Malick Thiaw. But there aren't many of those on trees that you can pluck out another 32 million centre back, especially left-sided centre back, and get them for that sort of fee that's going to turn out like Sven Botman has been for Newcastle United. Because when he's been fit and firing, he is a superb centre back, and a lot of other teams know that. I'm worried. I'm worried that this is going to affect things, but hopefully it's part of a plan that Sven Botman's going to play on Saturday, and then we don't have to have this conversation.
Yeah. Stay tuned to Away Days tomorrow at 7, where this topic will be discussed and debated, especially when it comes to team selection. 7 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to ask you a question on formation, but I might just save it for tomorrow. I think that would be better saved, and maybe we can all sleep on it and reflect. Right, let's see. So yeah, we've had, and you boys will have probably seen it. We've had quite a split in the fan base tonight. We've had some people who are quite calm, quite relaxed over the situation, and saying that the performance was decent the first half. Obviously, then the Nick Pope mistake changed things. We then have some people who, question that and saying, we had 25% possession first half. What were some people watching? So there's mixed feelings on the performance tonight, and I wanted to bring up a couple of comments just to kind of reflect that. So, Poco Man 123, thank you very much for tuning in, Poco Man. He says, very strange performance, obviously battled by Pope, but it definitely wasn't a boring, tepid display. I honestly thought Tonali and Bruno were the sloppiest out of everyone. Bayshuk, he says, a massive overreaction from some. We had that game, looked dangerous with every break, and then Pope fucked it all up. But then we do have some people, basically saying that his Terpi Marciano, how many games can Eddie throw a game with his constant selection of his favourites? How many times does he get to cost us with his in-game management? So obviously there's some, disharmony in terms of, the substitutions and things like that. When will some actual pressure come on this team? Let's see. Sophie, our resident Spanner, Sophie, can we please say how is out of his depth? So I suppose there's like an overall picture, and as you can see, two very different sides. From what the chat are talking about. But Daz, I mean, looking back to the Man City performance, obviously everyone was delighted with the Man City performance, and it felt like Newcastle United were back. Tonight, obviously we haven't got the result that we wanted, but I came in from football, and I said to my wife Lisa, I was like, what's the game been like? I said, she went, really entertaining game. Newcastle are really giving it a go. They're really having a go. And I saw a decent chunk of the second half myself, and it certainly looked like, you know, it wasn't the performances of 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. But what's your overall assessment? How far was this away from the Man City game? Do you get where people are coming from who maybe are a little bit negative towards the game, or are you siding more with the people who are positive about it?
Okay, let me answer that. Is we know from a previous show we ran a poll that 33% of our audience want Eddie Howe out, right? For me, Eddie Howe stays until the end of the season. We see where we are come the end of the season, and we judge him by the season. We got to this point last year as well. I got to this point last year where I started to question things, and then Eddie kicked on and did really, really well. Obviously, and ultimately getting to the Champions League and win us a trophy. So I'm not thinking of anything else other than Eddie Howe was here for the rest of the season. But I do want to see we all want to see how it plays out, and then look at the situation then as a whole, and how it now we can start making excuses like he has only one striker, and a striker that is like half the time is the number 10 for me, and we don't have the man from Congo. He has never kicked the ball for us yet. Gordon isn't a striker. There's loads of other excuses, and there's playing the favourites, and sticking with Nick Pope and blah blah blah. But we could have said the same thing against the Man City performance, and they pulled it out of the bag. I know they're at home. We have the other side of it, whereas the away performances, they have a massive challenge for the rest of the season. They have to turn this away form in the Premier League around. Whatever happens in the Champions League is a bonus. We'd hope that we'd get into the next stage of it, but we have to improve things in the Champions League, or else we have a big question in the summer and a big decision to make from the owners. But for me, park all talk of anything to do with the 33% are saying Eddie Howe out. Sorry for the 32% out. Eddie Howe is staying for the rest of the season. It's not going to happen. He's staying. No matter what happens, I think he's here to the end of the season.
Yeah. And Pete, just to add in a couple more questions which kind of relate to this as well. Turpy Marciano again. He's asking, who's telling the lads to sit back as soon as they score? Is it Eddie, or is it a mentality thing? And also, kind of in response to that as well, we had the new HBK, and the new HBK says, lads, why are we still playing Bain at left back? Now I could be wrong, but I don't think Bain played left back tonight, did he? But the new HBK also says, why are we still trying Gordon up top, which I know you've just articulated there, Daz, which has never worked. I just don't understand these same choices being made that continues to cost us, and obviously Pope has cost us too, which we've already touched on. But Pete, summarising the previous comments, and obviously off the back of what Daz has said there, and taking into account those two extra comments, what would you say in terms of Man City versus tonight's performance? And I know you've already said that you felt that like decent first half, more than decent first half, and then obviously it was ruined by that calamitous error from Nick Pope. But how are you like now that the game's over and you've obviously sat there watched it all? How are you feeling about tonight's results? And which sides would you say you fall on in terms of the fan base and how they're feeling about tonight?
Look, everyone's frustrated with it because of the manner in which we've lost the game. Look, it's anyone's opinion with regards to Eddie Howe. For me, I'm not even getting in the Eddie Howe discussion because he's not leaving. He's not going anywhere. There's no way we can get frustrated and call the manager all we want. Like, it's already been made clear, Eddie Howe's not going anywhere. He just isn't. We're gonna have to go on a ridiculous run of losing games, home and away, up until Christmas for that decision to be made. And for me, I don't believe it will happen. I think between now and Christmas, we will win football matches. How many football matches is up for discussion. So that discussion is a non-starter for me, just because I just don't believe he's going to go anywhere, regardless of what his fans individually think. Yes, some people in the chat want him gone. Yes, some people in the chat, have wanted him out for a long time. But the reality is, he's not going to go anywhere. Like, it just isn't. So I just feel like I'm not wanting to waste any energy on that. For me, my focus is each game, the performance of these players on the pitch. Now, if there's bad substitutions and there's bad tactical setup, I'll call Eddie Howe. And I have this season. I've done it. I've been there when he's made bad decisions and bad substitutions, bad selections, etc., etc. I've been there and I called Eddie Howe for it. And I'm willing and capable of doing that. And I will continue to do so. But for me, that game tonight was not lost in game on Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe did not lose that in game. That game was lost in game by Nick Pope and his brain dead, stupid actions of coming out when he was told by a centre back not to, but he still came out anyway, didn't get there, and then just allowed Aubameyang a free shot on goal. A free shot on goal he would not have got had he just stayed in the damn goal. That's the reality, right? That threw the players, the heads have gone, they then go and get a second, and then we're playing catch up and we're chasing uphill, having given so much on the pitch already in that game. That's the reality of it. Now, yes, were other players perfect? No, other players weren't perfect. You know, we're talking about Gordon. I'm not going to hammer Gordon too much. I thought he was all right in the first half. He pressed well, he chased well, but he's not a striker. We all know that. We've been talking about that for God knows how long. He's not a striker. And if we're playing him up front when he's not a striker, why do we just keep hammering him about it? He should be playing up there. But the reality is, we needed to rest Nick Woltemade. Nick Woltemade's played every game for Newcastle United recently. He needs to be rested at some point. Otherwise, he's going to burn out. So we had to give him that break because I'd much rather Nick Woltemade to get a rest today and be ready to play on Saturday. I want him fit and available for that game on Saturday. Right? I agree with people's opinions with Tonali and Bruno. Yeah, they weren't great. Tonali was better than Bruno, but Bruno was poor. He was really poor. But that's not necessarily down to Eddie Howe. That was down to their individual performances tonight. You know, nobody would have moaned had Bruno and Tonali been selected. I didn't see anybody in the comments when Newcastle put that team out earlier on tonight that Eddie Howe had chosen Tonali and Bruno. Nobody moaned about it. Everybody was happy to see them in the team. There's no point in hindsight saying, oh, they were crap, this, that, and the other, shouldn't have started. We can say it, but ultimately we would have been happy with it, and I was happy with it. So I'm not unhappy with anything that Eddie Howe's done tonight. I'm just unhappy that our goalkeeper's made yet another mistake. And my issue will be, I will be unhappy with Eddie Howe if Pope starts on Saturday. That's my big takeaway.
But still, Pete, you're not going to jump on the bandwagon for calling him out. It's his decision. He lives and dies by these decisions, and he'll have as you said earlier as well. He'll have the season to see it through, at the very least. Yeah, and it's not jumping on. It's not jumping on a bandwagon. It's going. All I do is go game to game, and I'm assessing the team, the level of performance, the selections, the substitutions, and I'll take it on a game to game basis. Now, we could say he got it absolutely spot on against Man City. We could argue up until that brain dead moment against from Nick Pope that he got it spot on again because the lineup was working. Some players weren't playing amazingly well, but it was working. We were winning. They weren't really getting in. We were defending well. It was going well until that moment. That moment changes it and puts it on its head. But again, I won't be jumping on the bandwagon come Saturday. I don't want Nick Pope starting for Newcastle United. I ultimately don't make that decision. But I think it's in the club and the team's best interest that Nick Pope doesn't start. If he does start him again and he gets stick, he will deserve that stick because, and I will believe he deserves that stick because I don't believe Nick Pope should be starting for Newcastle United. So if he does get stick after that, that's on Eddie Howe. But at this moment in time, I do not blame Eddie Howe for losing that game. I blame Nick Pope for losing us that game. He is the reason why we lost that game because he flipped the game on its head when it didn't need to be. That's my point. That's all I'm taking from that. So so my assessment will be on Saturday.
at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, when we're watching that game against Everton, I'm going to be going, right, hour and a half or hour and 15 before that game, I need to see Ramsdale starting. Okay? I need to see Nick Voltemeda starting. I need to see Tonali starting. I need to see Bruno and Joe Linton starting. They're the things that I need to see, right? Because I want us to put a performance in, and I will assess that performance based on what I see on the pitch. If any of make shocking subs, shocking selections, and decisions that affect the game directly, then we'll be having a different conversation at the weekend.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. And I think you do have to assess it on a game-by-game basis, don't you? And it's very easy, isn't it, to be reactionary after the game. But then ultimately, and this is why, you boys have mentioned, that it probably will be the end of the season. Eddie Howe will get the season, and then ultimately we'll look at over the course of the season, see where we finish, see how everything performs. Yeah. It does. We've had a super chat, and I think the answer to this one is very simple. Obviously, I will come off the back of this super chat. Thank you very much to Halv Mats for the super chat. Much appreciated, mate. Halv Mats says Steve Harper was a good shot stopper, so I think we know who he's referring to there. So he said, sorry, what, Pete?
I just said, he might have been a decent shot stopper. He was crap at everything else. I never rated Steve Harper. Never rated him.
No.
I think he's referring to Steve Harper.
Oh no! But what I mean is, I think you say, because we all say, don't we? Nick Pope is a very good shot stopper, but everything outside of shot stopping,
I get you.
Questionables are.
It's late.
Yeah, it is.
He's not never as good as Shea Given though. For me,
no, definitely not. This is a more broad of it. I'm gonna come to this one because it's slightly more broader. And it'd be interesting to hear your boys' thoughts on this. I'll come to you first on this one, Pete. David L6923. He says, don't want to see Pope, Burn, or Gordon anywhere near the starting 11 on Saturday. Now, obviously, we do have our away day show, which we've advertised, and that will be tomorrow evening. With Mike from the Unholy Trinity podcast, where we do our away day show against Everton, because we play them on Saturday evening. But without revealing too many spoilers, do you agree with David L's comment there, Pete? Are you wanting to see the back? That sounds really harsh, but are you wanting to see any of those three players in the starting 11, or is the ones that you're adamant you don't want to see, and maybe the odd one where you go, I could live with that?
Yeah, I just don't want to see Nick Pope start for Newcastle United on Saturday. All the others are up for discussion. I mean, look, if we're playing the same formation that we did against Man City, Barnes starts ahead of Gordon for me. Barnes was good again. Actually, Barnes scored, but actually, I think his general play was good as well. I thought he was really good. I think he linked well, made some great runs. They were hacked him down 3 or 4 times because they couldn't handle him on the counter. Like, he was good, and he'd link him really well. And he's a man full of confidence. We cannot make the same mistake that we made at the end of last season, where we tried to pigeonhole Anthony Gordon, just putting him back in the team just because it's Anthony Gordon. Well, Anthony Gordon doesn't deserve to just walk back in the team, as I don't believe Dan Burn deserved to walk back into this team tonight. So, yeah, I think there's an argument. There's an argument for all of those players to potentially be on the bench. There's an argument, whether it happens or not, who knows? But yeah, there's an argument for all of those 3 players to be on the bench. But there's definitely 1 or 2 of them that I would want. Absolutely.
Yeah. Daz, David Lee says, hi, loaded lads. Pope again. When will he ever get dropped? Do you think he will be dropped for Saturday, Daz? And obviously from David L6923's comments, those 3 players, are you wanting them to not be in the 11 on Saturday, or is it a bit like Pete, where it's just purely Nick Pope at this point?
It has to be Ramsdale on Saturday. It has to be Botman over Byrne, even though Eddie Howe will use height as an excuse or a reason for playing Byrne. Not that Byrne is doing anything wrong. And Gordon is on the bench because it's Barnes's spot to lose, and we know Nick Faltermehl will be up front, so there's no place for Gordon in the team for me, and he has to win his place back, and Gordon is on fire. Sorry, Barnes is on fire.
That is pretty much it for the questions, boys. But I've got 2 more comments that I need to make. So I now need to make these. I think I'm going to get a smile out of Pete for these. So Foxiero says, we all know the solution if we want to start winning away games. Send Pete to the games. So Foxiero knows the score. And finally, and I think there's a boxing, there's a oh no, not boxing, sorry. There's a wrestling theme here, Pete, from Ravishing Rick Ruse 5. And he says, cut the talk and watch me take off my robe and show you what a real sexy man looks like. There you go. There's a smile. Told you it'd come. Told you.
Good lad. Yeah, good old Ravishing Rick Rude. Like, yeah, I'm good at smile because it's not football related. So yeah. There we go.
Absolutely. And Jordy 2 for Life, he says, Chris, your mate Mike is now a TV star on Sky. Yes, Mike, I saw you. Well, Jordy 2 for Life, tune in tomorrow because we do have Mike. It's always a pleasure to have Mike on the show. And yeah, we've got our big match preview with Mike from the UHT podcast tomorrow evening as we look forward to Everton at the weekend.
I'm missing someone as well. Someone go the slaps gay. We talked about that on the other show. Actually, point it back again if you haven't called it. If you didn't catch it before our game, catch up on Top Tip. We'll talk a good chat with the boys on all the games at the weekend. With the winner's circle plus Dan United.
Has there been any talk? Because I've heard in the last 24 hours that Everton were going to appeal that decision. Do we know, have Everton actually appealed that, or do you think that they'll appeal it? Because I think it would be a pretty pointless appeal, even though I think it was crazy for them to be sent off. But I can't see them winning an appeal if they put an appeal in. Is there any news on that at all?
I've not heard anything, but to be fair, I don't know if they'll even have enough time. Because if they've not appealed by today, it's Wednesday tomorrow. We play Saturday evening. It needs to be turned around pretty quickly. It normally takes 2 or 3 days for them to turn it around for that decision to be made. So they'll be pushing it very, very fine. But look, even so, the referee sent him off. They're not overturning that.
No,
they're not overturning it.
No.
Rightio, that's the questions. Yes, as Sophie says, smash those likes on the way out. Hype and come back and hype the show later. But we will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. with Unholy Trinity, Mike, on the big match preview. Thanks for sticking with us. Go get some sleep. We'll see you later. Good night, everyone. Radiators.